Which brings us to our fourth commandment, and final one for this morning. It says this in verse 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son, your daughter, your male servant, or your female servant, or your livestock, or the sojourner who is within your gates. For in the 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. So what is the Sabbath rest all about? Well, it's not just about having a day off paid jobs, that's good, or having physical rest, but it's about holiness before God. It's about spiritual rest. Are we dependent on ourselves and our own moral performance to be holy and pleasing before God? Or are we resting in God and his work in our lives? Ultimately, we don't measure up to God's standards in this. And so we do have a deep spiritual unrest, constantly striving to meet God's standard. But we can be thankful that God has provided the greatest solution to this spiritual unrest in the person of Jesus, who did live the perfect life. You see, the problem of the law is that the Pharisees were using it in the wrong way. Jesus challenges this. See, the Pharisees were trying to justify themselves and encouraging others to justify themselves before God by living out the law. And the Pharisees added a number of laws to this law of the Sabbath. They had 39 categories of forbidden activities. In essence, these religious leaders had made themselves Lord of the Sabbath, thus making themselves lords over the people. And so this is Jesus' response in Matthew 12 to challenge them. He says, and if you had known what this means, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. As we go through this lockdown, I think there's a challenge for some of us here, or maybe many of us. Some will maybe going through a season where there's no work or less work on. That might create stresses financially. Can I encourage you to rest in Jesus, who justifies you and your worth and provides in this season? Of course, you need to be productive, not rest as in do nothing. You need to do something with your time, be productive, lest you fall into things that might cause you to sin in your life. But rest and know the Lord's provision. But for those where maybe both parents or a single parent is working, okay, both parents working or single parent working, and trying to look after kids at the same time, and I'm with you on that. I know the challenge of this time. This will be a particularly taxing time. Can I encourage you to rest in the Lord? It's very easy to look at social media, okay, and see everyone doing amazing things. The world kind of changed massively a month ago, didn't it? And you look at the world around you on social media and you see everyone doing this and that and being creative here and learning this and learning that and doing this. And you feel this guilt and pressure to keep up with the world around you. We see the empty baking shelves at the supermarket and think, gosh, everyone's baking. Right, I need to go and bake. See, in the West, we are driven, aren't we? Efficiency, productivity. We drive, we strive, we excel. We add to our skills portfolio. We strive to show how good we are, trying to justify ourselves to God and the world around us, to impress the world around us. Can I just say stop? Rest in the Lord. Maybe that means actually slimming back on things, not trying to compete and keep up, simplifying things. That, of course, will take grace and understanding between you and your employers and you and friends, and especially as the longer this goes on, we will need patience, grace, and understanding between each other. But when this all ends one day, how will you look back at it this season? How will you look back at it? How will God look back at this season of lockdown? I don't think he will say, you didn't learn enough instruments, or bake enough cakes, or do enough DIY projects, Nick. Jesus says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Jesus is saying that, yes, as we go about our work, ultimate spiritual rest is found in him. He is the Lord of the Sabbath, the Lord of holiness and perfection. Save yourselves from the striving and the stress this causes when everything is on your shoulders as you approach another day of work, homeschooling, or probably both. Say to the Lord, "As I work today, I rest spiritually in you."